Let me check where I'm gonna start my episode with. Well, we talk about those things, and we're gonna go right into the topic which I brought for today. This is already something that I've discussed with people, or I thought about it because it directly affects me or has affected me recently. And this is my education, and the education system that I've been following over the years I've been studying. Not like I stopped studying long ago. I'm still studying, in fact. So, education system, why is it so bad? Or in my case, for me, it's horrible here in Spain. Let me give you the 3 main points of how the education system is super bad. First of all, it's a mandatory education system until you are 16. From there, you can stop studying. Highly problematic. Second of all, you are literally guided and put into different areas, like if you were a ship. They classify you and they tell you if you're good or not good enough for different branches of the education system. And third of all, most important, it takes forever to be someone with a minimum degree in any studies and having experience at all. Let's get these 3 main points a bit more explained in depth. The first one is the regulation. In Spain, it's mandatory to study until you are 16. That's like the bare minimum they require you. Doing this, it's literally nonsense. Because to that point, what youth learn is comparable to anything in life. And by that, I mean, it's not the age the problem. The age is not the problem here. You can literally stop at 18, 16, 15. Doesn't really matter on that range. But the problem is what you learned so far. So what happens is many people who don't like this educational system or they're not meant to study yet found them in a situation where they have literally nothing. The opportunities they have are comparable to zero, and they haven't gained any skill because what you've been taught or what the system is built for is to keep studying until the end. The system is not built to stop at 16, then 18, then when you finish the university or whatever other educational form you've taken. The system is meant to keep studying until literally there is no more study. And even then, you can keep studying. This is the PhD and furthermore. So you force children into stopping or keeping, and then some of them want to stop at 16, which makes sense, and it would be fair for them to give the opportunity, which is what we've done. We gave those children the opportunity to live at 16. But what's next? They have nothing. Where are they gonna go? It's not an age that they can work. Working at that age is complicated. You need parents' permission, etc., etc., etc. But even more, they don't know how to do anything. They're gonna have to keep studying. So, what if someone has a decent enough idea of having at least one subject, one course that you can study from a reasonable early age that carries on to 16? And by 16 or by whatever time you decide to, they are capable of doing something. And by that activity, it could be playing a sport on an amateur way, it could be cooking, it could be baking, it could be literally understanding the tax system. That's a bit complicated. But my point is, teach them something. Teach them organization, teach them control, teach them any basic skill that once you are working out there, you are going to need to have. So this is one of the first points. But all of those people who fail don't know anything, stays for 2-3 years, sadly wandering around, and by the time they want to go back to it, they need to start over. In my opinion, if you're going to make someone stop at 16, at least give them something by that time. Because if you are forcing them to study and they get 0 out of that, what are we expecting those guys, those people, those girls and boys to do in the following years? Nothing. Which is my first point. And we can be here debating and talking a lot more, but I really wish we thought in a more logical way to make sure we are just not facilitating the life of teachers who don't want to get the extra work on more complicated students, rather than sticking to those who are really capable of studying and really smart, because their life would be easier. Second of all, which one the second point? I forget about it. I have forgotten about it. I know it's taking too long. It's no experience. Oh yeah. Second topic, point, call it whatever. Classification. Why does the human being love putting attributes, names, and tags to everything in life? And yeah, we can literally translate this to any topic, any field. But what's touching us right now is the education system. We love to classify people, and not in a good way as well. Technically, when you put an attribute, it's either beneficial or not at all. Classification. Classifying students by how good they are. If you're smart and you get good grades, you're a science guy. If you're really bad, you are not eligible to keep studying. You're out of the system. If somehow you're in the middle, then we have a problem, because the middle guys never get too much out of it. So you either go to philosophy or things like that, where you take no effort, or you are like, whatever, and you go to economical sciences. In this classification, only one group is the good one, the science guys, because of culture, because of education, or because of grades. They focus on the good guys of science. So any guy who's not on this good grade classification that we put the attributes wants to jump into this one, they are looked as strangers. People refuse to accept them into there. You're gonna fail, you're gonna hate it, you're not good enough. Move on, but not here. It's a problem. Allow people, like not force them. Of course, in Spain, no, this is a democracy. If you want, you can go. But the way they told you to do it, the way they convince your parents or yourself, it's really, really bad in a way. But what happens if it's the other way around? If the good guy technically want to jump into the other classification, you look like you're crazy, that you lost your mind, because you are good, way better than these guys. You cannot be with them. You see my point? From super early, we are forcing people to choose a path. We are giving them guideline upon a bullshit system, and from there, they are literally separated. And that's what happened when an engineer or a medical guy jokes on the guy from science, economical science, or the guy from philosophy, because it's like they have no effort, they put no effort. Their life has been easier because you're the smart guy. That's a real issue, classification. Because if you classify and we force them to study something that never ends, let's keep the track. We force people to study forever. You never see the end goal. You never understand it. You don't know what's going to happen. We are classifying you like sheeps. And you don't like it. And you know that if you quit or you don't study, what's out there is even worse, because no one accepts you. Can you see it? Like, this is literally, from a common sense perspective, It makes no sense to me or anyone, because this guy, the guy that wants to quit studying, is as capable as doing something as good as the guy that gets good grades. It's just a lack of perspective, because in this system, this education system, there's only one perspective: studying, and you need to be good at it. If you don't like the system, or you're not able to adapt, you're out. And this is not how it's meant to be. Not in 2023, or not moving forward. And then, third topic. The road that never ends. And by the road that never ends, I mean it never ends. You start with primary education, you jump to secondary education. We then here have 2 years of bachelor pre-university. Then you have 4 years of university. And after that, you haven't ended yet. You need to do a master's. And yet it's not mandatory, it is mandatory. For working, it is mandatory. And when you finish the master's, you know what it's after? And you're encouraged to do, if you keep being the good grades guy, a PhD. Let's be a doctor in a subject. For how long? Until you are able to publish anything. 6 years? More? Who knows? Without working, just studying. And after getting that recognition, have you ended? No. People go for a second, you are forced to go for a second degree because you are updated. Second master's. And then you need to keep on track. So you need to publish, sign documents on any field. Because if not, you're a doctor without recognition. And that's a big thing. A real big thing. Okay, we're back. I needed to finish some things. But let's keep going where we were, which is this never-ending path of study. So what's the problem here? We're talking about, in my case, 22 years with only a 6-month break of waiting without studying. That's mean from the moment I entered the school at whatever age, I think it was 4. I haven't stopped for 21 years and a half, continuous periods. Think about it, 22, I'm gonna run it up, 22 years without non-stop studying. At some point, you start losing track. You start losing the end goal, because it's an incredible amount of time. It's barely a fourth. No, it's barely, no, it will be almost a fourth of my entire lifetime. A fourth of my lifetime just studying. In my case, imagine if you don't have enough perseverance to achieve that long just working, that you need something practical, that you need to put things into a professional playground, that you want to know if all the effort you've been putting is worth something. Confidence drops. Motivation drops. Energy drops. Any attribute you think of. It may stop. Obviously, it's so long. Why do we force people to be on the education system for so much time? Yeah, it's not mandatory. Well, you see, this is not an answer. Because if not mandatory, then everyone will stop, but everyone is keep studying. Because if not, what's after? What's out there? On a country that asks you to have a degree, a minimum master's, some level of English, some level of another language, to start getting paid the bare minimum. With the highest amount of studies, with the best education, you need all of that. If not, your life is going to be a non-stop grind of working 8, 12, 10, 12 hours a day, non-stop. Why do we force people to do that? So here's my take. And it's nothing new. I haven't invented anything. I'm just making common sense thoughts. What if we promote a bit more professional education, where after 2 years, after the first year, they can have practical experience for those who don't want to jump into the university. And we stop, classifying them as the black sheeps. That they were not meant to be on the good path. Let's get them on the same level. And what if, for those guys who want to get a step beyond and go to university, we allow them to not study for 4 years, maybe 3.5, but at the second year of their studies, you allow them, you're not allowing, you're forcing them to take professional experience, to work in any company, and you provide them with help, and then you guide them into the real world. So instead of having 22 years, it's only 18. Yeah, I know it's not much. It's something that takes time. But come on, at least facilitate it a bit. And we stop forcing people to have a master's after a degree. We make them go into the working environment, into companies, to decide if that's what they like or not. Because in my case, I'm lucky, super lucky. From day one, I knew this was my field of expertise where I want to grow. It hasn't been easy anyway, by any means, but at least I haven't changed. But imagine if I, at the middle of my degree, decided to change. Instead of 22, it's 26 years. And now what? And things can get worse so quickly that we don't even notice. This is my point. Facilitate things. Get those guys some learnings early on, get them some skills, pure skills that they will use for the rest of their life, and move from that point onwards. And don't force people, children and students, to be locked into a classroom until they can't anymore. Because the difference from studying to working, it's immense. And I realized that in only 3 months. So please have some common sense. And let's make this education system a bit more efficient, a bit more better, and having a bit more common sense on the actions that we take. And for those of you out there, stop thinking that if you're in science, you're incredibly good. If you're not, you have failed in life. And if you have dropped, you are even more of a failure. Neither the first one or the last one are different. You are just taking different paths that are equally viable. And you can get to the same place.